7 bottles. 7 wines that define what Bordeaux is capable of. So let's get into them. We're starting with Petrus. Right bank, tiny appellation called Pomerol, and the wine is built from nearly 100% Merlot. That alone makes it unusual, because in Bordeaux, Merlot is usually the grape that fills out the blend, the one that softens edges and rounds out the Cabernet Sauvignon. At Petrus, it carries the whole wine. The style is dense, opulent, intensely rich. Dark plum, crushed black cherry, black truffle, mocha, leather, iron. And what defines it more than anything is the texture. Voluptuous, velvety, full-bodied, but somehow never heavy. It coats the palate like silk dipped in ink. That quality comes directly from the land, a small raised plateau of pure blue clay that holds moisture and heat in a way no other soil in Bordeaux can replicate.
The estate puts out around 3,000 cases a year, and prices regularly push past $3,000 a bottle. It has no place in the famous 1855 classification system, yet it outprices nearly everything that does. For food, black truffle risotto. The earthiness of the truffle mirrors Petrus's deep mineral and umami layers, and the creaminess of the risotto softens that richness without competing with it.
Chateau Margaux is a completely different experience. Left bank, the Margaux appellation, Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, Premier Grand Cru Classé, one of only 5 in all of Bordeaux. Where Petrus is power wrapped in velvet, Margaux is perfume in a glass. The most graceful wine on this list, and that is its entire identity, not a limitation. Violet and rose petal on the nose, then red currant, cedar, dark cherry, and a faint trace of sandalwood. The tannins are fine-grained, almost powdery. They glide rather than grip. What separates it from the other first growths is the aromatic complexity, the way it layers scent over scent. Subtle where Latour is imposing, perfumed where Mouton is bold, aristocratic in a way that feels completely effortless. People reach for the word poetry when they describe Margaux, and they are not wrong. It does not announce itself, it simply arrives, and you do not forget it. For food, roasted duck breast with a cherry reduction. The gaminess of the duck connects with the wine's dark fruit, and the sauce draws out the floral depth without overwhelming the wine's delicacy. Chateau Lafite Rothschild is the intellectual of this list. Pauillac, left bank, Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, Premier Grand Cru Classé. Same appellation as Latour and Mouton, but an entirely different personality. Restrained, precise, almost architectural in how it holds itself together. It is not the biggest wine in Bordeaux, and it is not the most aromatic. What it offers is harmony. Black currant, graphite, cedar box, dried herbs, and that specific pencil shaving note that Bordeaux lovers recognize the moment it comes up. The structure is elegant, the tannins refined, the finish exceptionally long. Where Mouton impresses on first contact and Latour commands through sheer weight, Lafite works through precision. Everything exactly where it belongs, nothing pushing. Its greatness reveals itself over hours in the glass, over decades in the cellar. Some vintages are considered among the greatest bottles ever made anywhere in the world. Lafite does not dazzle. It convinces, slowly, completely, and permanently. For food, Rack of lamb with herbe de Provence. The herbal notes of the preparation mirror Lafite's cedar and dried herb character, and the fat of the lamb handles its structured tannins beautifully. Chateau Latour is a monument. Left bank, Pauillac, Cabernet Sauvignon, the most structured, most powerful, most age-worthy wine on this list. In its youth, it is almost impenetrable, deep garnet, dense with black currant, iron, graphite, and roasted coffee. The tannins, when young, are dense and demanding, not particularly welcoming. Give it 20, 30, sometimes 40 years, and they resolve into something extraordinary. A profound, mineral-driven wine with an almost austere nobility that nothing else on this list can match. The Grand Enclos, Latour's central vineyard plot, holds some of the oldest vines in Pauillac, rooted in gravel and clay that give the wine its trademark intensity and minerality. Latour does not perform for you. It makes you wait, and when it finally opens, it is unlike anything else in the world of wine. This is a bottle you buy for a decade from now, not tonight. For food, venison with black pepper and juniper sauce. The gamey depth of the meat matches Latour's iron and graphite backbone, and the pepper amplifies its natural spice without overloading the structure. Chateau Mouton Rothschild is the showman. Pauillac, Left Bank, Cabernet Sauvignon. In 1973, it was elevated from second growth to first growth, the only chateau in the entire history of Bordeaux to ever achieve that reclassification. And it has never once forgotten how to walk into a room. Bold and richly aromatic, dark black currant, blackberry, tobacco, graphite, roasted espresso, dark chocolate. Full-bodied, generous, with ripe and grippy tannins that are firm but lush. It hits harder on first contact than Lafite or Margaux, and that is entirely the point. It was never trying to be subtle. The famous artist label series, featuring Picasso, Dali, Warhol, and many others, reflects the estate's whole personality. Wine as an art form, every vintage its own event. Mouton does not wait to be appreciated. It demands it and earns it. For food, filet mignon with black truffle and red wine reduction. The richness of the beef handles Mouton's intensity well, and the truffle in the sauce speaks directly to its earthy depth. Chateau Cheval Blanc is seduction. Right bank, Saint-Emilion, and dominated by Cabernet Franc, blended with Merlot, which gives it a character unlike anything else in Bordeaux. Silky, layered and complex. Ripe plum, violet, black cherry, graphite, mocha, with a floral lift that carries it above the weight of most right bank wines. The texture is almost seamless. Tannins so well integrated, they feel structural rather than grippy. Cheval Blanc holds Premier Grand Cru Classé A status in the Saint-Emilion classification, and its 1947 vintage is widely considered one of the greatest bottles ever made anywhere in the world. What makes it so singular is that it lives between two worlds, the power of the left bank and the softness of the right, without fully belonging to either. It is the wine that makes you pause mid-sentence just to think about what you are actually tasting. For food, duck confit with a sour cherry and thyme jus. The richness of the slow-cooked duck handles Cheval Blanc's silky texture beautifully, and the tartness of the cherry pulls out the wine's floral, violet-driven character without flattening it. Then there is Chateau Haut-Brion, the outlier among the first growths, and in many ways the most fascinating of the seven. while the other 4 left bank first growths sit in Médoc. Haut-Brion stands alone in Pessac-Leognan within the Grave region, just outside the city of Bordeaux, on sandy and gravelly soils that give it a style no other chateau on this list can replicate. Cabernet Sauvignon dominant with significant Merlot, and the wine is darker, smokier, more mysterious than any of the others. Tobacco leaf, charcoal, dark plum, leather, iron, dried fig. There is a savory, almost meaty quality to it that none of the others have, a depth that feels ancient, like something pulled directly from the earth.
The tannins are firm but polished, and the finish carries a long, smoky mineral trail that stays well after the glass is empty. Haut-Brion was the first Bordeaux wine ever mentioned by name in English literature. It appears in Samuel Pepys's diary in 1663, making it the oldest of all the first growths and arguably the most individual. For food, wood-fired lamb shoulder with rosemary and smoked bone marrow. The smokiness of the preparation speaks directly to Haut-Brion's charcoal and tobacco notes, and the richness of the marrow suits its deep, earthy body. Haut-Brion is what happens when terroir becomes personality, smoky, noble, and completely itself. 7 wines, 7 completely different ways of being extraordinary. Don't forget to subscribe